So Marina Mabrey has responded to the to everything that's going on.
Marina Mabrey just looked like she was just unhinged out there after looking at this, man.
Last night's WNBA matchup between the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever erupted into a spectacle that has reignited debate over officiating standards, league credibility, and the polarizing presence of Marina Mabrey, whose infamous shove
are here the night after WNBA fight night. Sophie Cunningham putting JC Sheldon in a clinch. Marina Mabrey targeting Caitlin Clark.
On rookie sensation Caitlin Clark instantly became the symbol of a game spiraling out of control, and an officiating crew unable to manage the temperature on the floor. The opening minutes of the game hinted at what was to come. Tough screens, hard fouls, and testy exchanges that the referees struggled to contain.
All they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabrey, nothing else happens. The Sophie Cunningham situation does not.
But the defining moment that flipped the atmosphere from intense to explosive was Marina Mabrey's blindside shove on Clark, who was entirely unaware of Mabrey closing in behind her. Clark, who has been the league's new centerpiece, drawing packed arenas and record TV numbers, hit the floor hard as the crowd gasped and commentators immediately questioned whether this was a standard foul, a flagrant, or an ejection worthy.
So, there are 4 players fined in that game. 4 players fined in that game, but the referees, the scariest part about all this is that the referees came out with their report. They came out with their report and said, the contact made by Mabrey did not rise to the level of ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant 2 penalty. And it was given as a technical foul. Not even a flagrant, by the way.
Cheap shot. Instead of treating it as a flagrant 2, which by league rules means automatic ejection for excessive, unnecessary force, the referees inexplicably issued only a technical foul, sending a clear signal that physicality will be allowed. To escalate unchecked, and escalate it did. The immediate ripple effect was that Sophie Cunningham, another player with a reputation for playing on the edge, found herself in a clinch with JC Sheldon later in the game.
A lot of it is centered around the last 46 seconds where Sophie Cunningham hard fouls JC Sheldon. She gets ejected, JC gets ejected, does Lindsay? I think Lindsay gets ejected. And in watching the broadcast, even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabrey, this probably wouldn't have happened.
Cunningham's hard foul led to an instant flagrant 2 and an ejection, leaving fans fuming at the apparent double standard. How could Mabrey stay in the game for a blatant cheap shot while Sophie was ejected for what many felt was a routine playoff-level hard foul? This inconsistency poured gasoline on social media fires as point 3 of this saga unfolded. Within minutes, clips of Mabrey's shove went viral on every major sports feed, with fans, retired players, and even current WNBA insiders publicly questioning how referees miss such an obvious act of unnecessary aggression. Many argued that had Mabrey been tossed immediately, tensions likely wouldn't have boiled over, preventing the chain reaction of flagrant fouls and player clashes that turned the showcase matchup into what many dubbed WNBA Fight Night. As outrage grew louder, the 4th critical moment arrived quietly and awkwardly after the final buzzer when the WNBA office, sensing a PR disaster, quietly upgraded Mabrey's foul from a technical to a flagrant 2.
People are calling for Sophie Cunningham's ejection from the league. People are commenting under Marina Mabrey stuff.
So Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye. Marina Mabrey doesn't even see what happens and she just decides to clean Caitlin Clark out of it. And the referees just said, nah, it was not worth an injection. So Caitlin dribbles. Look at how far she is away from the ball, by the way. Look at how far she is away from the ball. That's literally, she's nowhere near the ball. She just jumps at her face. And then she belly bumps Caitlin. Caitlin retaliates by shoving in an unsportsmanlike manner, according to the referees. And then Marina Mabrey comes from nowhere.
By then, the damage was irreversible. The shove had changed the game's tone, endangered a high-profile rookie, and spotlighted that referees in League HQ might not even share the same interpretation of contact and punishment standards. Belated correction, instead of calming the situation, only fueled new questions about whether the league was reacting to bad optics.
It is kind of, frustrating to see the hypocrisy everywhere in all the spaces when it comes to the Indiana Fever, because I'm seeing the same people saying, and the same people in the media, the same people in social media, which social media doesn't really count and it shouldn't, but these are filtering to people in the mainstream media saying it was a physical league last season to Sophie should be ejected and her spot should be considered in the league, and calling her out on all these physical plays that were totally excusable until the Indiana Fever do them.
Instead of enforcing its rule book consistently in real time. In the fifth expanded point, the fallout extended beyond just an upgraded foul. 4 players were fined for their roles in the scuffles and flagrant fouls, including Sophie Cunningham, who received an additional fine on top of her in-game ejection. However, no player, not Mabrey, not Cunningham, faced a suspension, which many fans and analysts took as further evidence that the league was trying to put out the fire without addressing the root cause. Referees who failed to protect players and keep emotions in check when it mattered most. Into this confusion stepped Marina Mabrey herself, and Point 6 digs deeper into her unapologetic stance that has made her as loved as she is hated across WNBA arenas. Rather than issue a remorseful statement or diffuse the backlash, Mabrey posted a blunt video on TikTok declaring, "Every time they comment, I make dollars." That single line didn't just dismiss the controversy, it weaponized it for personal gain, turning criticism into clicks and clicks into cash. A move that cemented her image as the player who relishes being the villain if it keeps her name trending and her bank account growing. The 7th point shows why this isn't just about one rough play or a single game gone off the rails. It exposes a fragile trust between the league, its officials, and a rapidly expanding fan base that expects consistency and fairness, especially with Caitlin Clark drawing more eyes to the WNBA than ever before. When viewers see one player commit a clear flagrant foul and stay in the game while another is immediately tossed for less, the message is confusion, not credibility. The 8th point reminds us this is not new behavior for Mabrey. Fans who followed her stints with Dallas, Chicago, and now Connecticut know that she thrives in physical, gritty moments and has long skated the line between fearless and reckless. Alongside Sophie Cunningham, Mabrey has been a magnet for highlight reels and heated arguments, drawing boos every time she touches the ball, yet delivering the kind of edge that some argue the league needs. More of the push rivalries and sell tickets. Still, that style brings collateral damage. The more physical she plays, the more the league must decide where the line is between tough defense and unsportsmanlike conduct. The 9th point lays out the bigger risk for the WNBA itself. Stars like Clark have brought unprecedented mainstream attention, but that spotlight brings scrutiny. When refs blow high-profile calls, fans notice. When the league backtracks only, after backlash, trust erodes. If the WNBA wants to keep building momentum, it must protect its talent, call the game cleanly the first time, and ensure its referees and executives are on the same page about what earns a technical, a flagrant, or an ejection. Finally, the 10th point sums up the unresolved tension left hanging in the air. In this league, what happens next time? Can a player like Mabrey, who openly profits from stirring chaos, continue to bend the rules and profit from the drama while the league scrambles after the fact to fix it? If post-game corrections become the norm instead of confident in the moment officiating, the WNBA risks having every big game overshadowed by questions about its integrity and player safety. Until the league draws a hard line and trains officials to uphold it consistently under the brightest lights and rowdiest crowds, moments like last night's shove will keep testing how much chaos the WNBA and its growing fan base are willing to tolerate in the name of entertainment and rivalries. For now, Marina Mabrey walks away richer, her reputation as the league's favorite villain only stronger, while Caitlin Clark and every other star player wait to see if the next game will be called by the rulebook or by social media outrage the morning after.
So this just clearly shows me the referees need some schooling, man. Okay? They need some schooling. You had these referees out here clueless, man. And I was wondering what was taking them so long to call the right call. I swear to you, man, we lived 2 lifetimes before they came back and said what they needed to say about the nonsense that happened.